Hi everyone, it's Brittany, and today we are going to be talking about how I manifested my husband. So, I'm going to talk about how I manifested the relationship initially, and then how I manifested, the engagement and marriage and my daughter and all of that kind of stuff. But before I get into it, I just wanted to kind of say a couple things. Number one, I will be sharing this story from a human's perspective because as I was experiencing it, I was experiencing it through the human point of view. So that's how I'm going to share it. I didn't understand who I really truly was as source. I knew manifestation, but I didn't know myself. I was viewing myself as this very limited human. So really, that's all I wanted to say about that. And just to give you a little brief backstory, um, I right after I graduated high school, I got into my first serious relationship, who ended up being the man that I had two children with and got married to. So I was very young. I was 20 when I got pregnant with my son. And yeah, we did everything very quickly and everything was great at the beginning. But things started to take a turn and go downhill. And this is where I really experienced that toxic relationship and ended up leaving, long story short, like after 10 years. And I really was like at a point where I was just like, honestly, I don't even care if I have to be single for the rest of my life. I'd rather be single forever than have to experience this everyday hell that I felt like I was going through. So I just made the decision that I was going to be done with this and it just had to be that way. So, of course, I had a lot of fears. And I mean, I can just tell you guys, like when I left that relationship, I was the most insecure that I had ever been in my whole entire life. I had all these fears of like, um, who's going to want to be with you? Like, you have two children, you're divorced, you're not even in your 30s yet. Like, no one your age is going to want to be with you. Nobody that you know is like in the same type of experiences that you're having. Like you're just going to have to accept the fact that like you screwed up and now you're probably just going to be alone forever. And I know that might sound super dramatic, but like that's how I felt. That's how I felt at the time. And of course, you know, my children's father reflected that back to me. But I left that and spent some time kind of just being alone and like sort of rebuilding that confidence back. Still was nowhere near perfect by any means, but I ended up dating again later down the line. And when I started dating again, I was meeting some great guys, but every time I met them, it was either they had no interest in being with somebody that had children, or they did, but then the relationship ended up becoming super controlling and really just like I saw myself as a people pleaser. I saw myself as somebody that had to do everything in her power to make her partner happy at all times. And that was like literally what I did. I identified myself in that way, had no idea that that's what I was doing, but that's what I did. And I didn't have a good time in relationships, to be very honest. Like every relationship that I got into was worse than the previous one. And I got to a place where I was just like, I can't do this right now. I'm so tired and exhausted. But then every time my kids would go to their dads for the weekend, I would just sit at home feeling really lonely and feeling sorry for myself. And I would, force myself to go out and try to meet people and, just kind of distract myself. But it never made me happy. I was never happy doing these things. It was more of just like distraction. And I really just got to this place where I was like, well, unless I meet a guy that's exactly like this. And I wrote a list of the exact kind of person that I would want to share my life with, somebody that I would want to share my family with, somebody that I would feel great about having my kids around. And, I wrote a very, very detailed list about personality, about morals, about family, and physical appearance as well. So I wrote that. And while I did it, it was honestly just for fun. And I just told myself, like, okay, the next time I go on a date with somebody, if he doesn't meet all of these qualities, then it's not for me. And I was kind of joking, but kind of not, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I wrote that list and then I put it aside. So, um, as I said, I spent a lot of time like taking a break from dating because it wasn't what I wanted. And so I stopped doing that and I started focusing on myself. And I wanted to figure out, like, because I was so young when I got married the first time, um, I really just didn't know who I was, to be honest. Like, I had no idea what I was interested in. I had no idea what kind of hobbies I would like. Like, I just didn't know any of those kinds of things about myself. I never gave myself like the permission to think about myself, to be honest. At becoming a mother at 21 years old doesn't really give you a chance to be young and do things for yourself and be selfish or any of those things. So I just didn't have the chance. And I felt like that's what I needed to do now in my late 20s. And so I basically, like I said, stopped dating, but I was spending a lot of time imagining things. And I was imagining just like my lifestyle in general, how my lifestyle would look if I had all the things that I wanted. And a lot of what I was imagining was really like, not even real things, like fantasy kind of things. I've mentioned this in videos before, but like imagining myself walking through a forest with these cute little fairies just flying above my head and whispering into my ear about how amazing I was and how special and unique and beautiful I was. And, anything that really just felt good for me, because in my 3D experience, I was not happy. I was working 3 jobs. I was, every other weekend without my children. And I had no money to do anything really. And I had no free time other than the times where my kids weren't home. And when they weren't home, I was really sad and feeling bad for myself. So I really wasn't enjoying my experience. I was also stressed because I was like in and out of court, kind of fighting for custody and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it wasn't an enjoyable experience for me, to say the least. But I knew that I couldn't just keep focusing on all of my problems. I knew about manifestation, like I said, nowhere near to the extent of what I understand now, but I knew like being positive was what you should be doing. You shouldn't just keep focusing on all these negative things that you don't like. So instead of doing that, I just started focusing on things that felt good to me. And long story short, that's when I met this guy. And this is not who my husband is, by the way, but I met a guy that for the very first time in my life, he saw me for who I was. He thought I brought so much value to any relationship, whether it would be a romantic relationship or just a friend or even just like in a professional setting. He was just like, you're such an incredible person. You're so smart. You're so caring. You're so giving. You just have this gentle way about you that you make people feel comfortable when you're around them. And it was amazing to hear this from a guy, from a romantic partner. And so that was an amazing relationship. And that whole entire relationship was great. But my fear of someone not wanting to fully commit to me because I already had children actually fully manifested. And this guy, like literally with tears in his eyes, crying to me, said, I love you so much. And that's why this hurts me so much, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready to be a father figure. I'm not ready to be with somebody who has a serious responsibilities as a mom. And he was like, I respect you so much, but I'm not there yet. I'm not ready for this. And of course, I understood that. And I was kind of just like, why should I have expected anything different? Like, I knew that this was going to happen. Um, but, even though I was so heartbroken and really, really upset about it, I was just like, you know what? If he isn't the one for me, then that's okay. Someone else will be. And truly, like, that relationship showed me that I have a lot to offer. I am a good person, and I know that there is someone out there that's going to see that and appreciate that in me. And so, even though I was sad, like I said, I had already accepted that I will meet someone. So, again, um, went back to kind of just living life. I actually had an experience where I was able to quit all three of those jobs, and I got offered a different job. And this was a job in, I'll just say skincare and makeup. So I was doing that. I was loving it so much. And I was able to make enough money for me to at least like survive and take care of my children. So because I had a lot more free time, I was spending a lot more time with some of my girlfriends and my sisters. And one day my sister asked me, my sister-in-law, if I wanted to take a little trip, like a trip to the beach. And I was like, okay, cool. And before that happened, my other sister was like, hey, you should get back on the dating apps. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I did not have a good experience with it before. I felt completely bombarded with just like messages all the time, and it didn't feel like I could get to know anyone through it. So I was just like, I can't. It's too overwhelming for me right now. But then she mentioned to me, well, there's this new app and it's actually a little bit different. So yes, you still have to swipe on the person's like profile if you are interested in them, and they have to do the same, but the girls reach out first. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. And this was in 2016. So it was like when this app had just came out, and I was like, okay, well, that kind of sounds cool. And at least then I don't have to feel like I'm getting messages all day, every day, and I can choose to message the person if I want to. So long story short, I went on there, created a profile, and I was looking through and I saw my husband, my future husband. And I was like, okay, this guy is super cute. He seems pretty educated. Like he had all the information on like where he went to school and what he did for a living and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, there's just something about this guy. He seems cool. And so I swiped on him, whichever way you swipe, because I don't even remember now, but I liked him. I liked his profile, and we weren't a match. So I happened to be at my mom's house, and I was explaining all of this to her because she was really like not wanting me to meet someone online. At the time, it was not really like as common as it is now. And so she was just like, I don't like this. I don't think it's really safe. And, all the normal mom things. And so I was kind of explaining to her how it works. And as I was swiping through, she saw his profile with me and she was like, yeah, pick that guy, pick that guy. And so I told her, well, even if I pick him, it doesn't mean he's going to pick me, mom. And she's like, oh, please, of course he's going to pick you. Are you serious? Look at you. You're beautiful. And, I'm just like, oh God, mom, stop. That you don't know. You don't know. But again, as a mom, of course she's going to think that about me. So in any case, I told her we didn't match, and she was just like, well, he must have not seen it yet. So I'm like, well, yeah, either he hasn't seen it or he just doesn't like me, and that's fine. It's totally fine. So in any case, the trip's coming, and I'm going with my sister, and we drive to the beach. As we're driving, and she's driving, I get a little ping as we're really close to the Beltway. And I looked at my phone and it said that I matched with him. And I was like, oh, and this had been like a few days later. So I was like, oh my gosh, that guy liked me. And I had already told my sister about it. And she was just like, oh my God, message him. So, we started chatting and he was like, do you want to talk on the phone? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so we talked and we ended up talking for like 4 hours that first night. And it's really funny. The reason why I'm mentioning us driving and getting that message is because for me on my profile, I had it set to like a 20-mile radius. So I could match with anybody within 20 miles around me. He, on the other hand, had his set to 5-mile radius. And obviously, we were not within 5-mile distance of each other from where we lived. So he wasn't able to see my profile when I was at home. But when I was driving, and we were driving to the highway, it was so close to his house that I was within a 5-mile radius. And so that's when he ended up seeing me and liking my profile. So really, long story short, if I wouldn't have gone to the beach, that would have never happened. We would have never met each other. He would have never matched with me because he wouldn't have been able to see my profile. So I thought that that was really, really funny. And yeah, so in any case, got back from the beach. We decided to meet. It was amazing. It was just like the most incredible connection I've ever felt with anyone. And I was just like, this is my person. Like, I just know it. I just know it. And he ended up telling me that he felt the exact same way. So we started dating. He asked me to be his girlfriend, like super early. He was just like, I'm quite a bit older than you, so I don't really know how this whole thing works, but I just want you to be my girlfriend. I don't want to go on more dates. I don't want to like look around. I know that I want to start a relationship with you. So I was like, 100%, let's do it. So, the first several months were just so great and so beautiful and just special to me. And then when I really started to realize, like, I'm totally in love. I'm totally in love with this guy. Like, I'm just so in love with him. That's when all of the thoughts started to come in about why do you think that this incredible man who has had so many amazing experiences in his life is just so great in so many ways, guys. Like, he is so smart, but he's also so talented. He teaches self-defense class. He is an artist. He is extremely book smart, just very well traveled. Like, he sews clothes. He's just like all around an amazing, talented, smart person. And coming from me, from my perspective, somebody who had never even lived life because I became a mom very young, I didn't have any of these kinds of experiences under my belt. And I felt like, oh my God, he's not going to want to be with somebody who's never experienced anything. Like, why would he want that? Or why would he want to be with somebody who never even works out? And this man is in the gym like 5 to 6 days a week intensively. Like, he's going to realize that I'm not good enough for him. And I really, even though I was trying to enjoy the relationship, got caught up in those thoughts, and I really allowed that to kind of take over my head, and it started being reflected. He started mentioning, and he was very, very sweet, even still when I was having these worries and doubts. And he would be like, well, what's going on with you? Why are you so quiet? Why are you not giving me any input on this thing or that thing? Or, I'm trying to see how you're feeling. Why aren't you telling me? And so eventually I was just like, I just feel super insecure. I feel super insecure around you. I've seen what a lot of your ex-girlfriends look like. They're nothing like me. I see what kind of lifestyle you've been living, and that has not been my experience. Like, just so many things about us that are completely different. And I just don't know if you're going to realize one day that, like, yeah, I'm not interested in this girl. And he was just like, it's so funny that you're saying that, because really, if I were looking for a girl that was working out all the time, that's what I would have done. I would have met someone at the gym already. If I was looking for somebody who had been traveling all around the world like me, then that's what I would have done. I would have looked for someone like that. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a partner that is my twin. I'm looking for somebody to share a life with. I'm looking for somebody that balances me out in ways where maybe I feel like I'm lacking, and vice versa. So he was like, I really want you to look at this as like a partnership. It's not something where we have to compare ourselves to each other based off of what we've experienced or we haven't experienced. And I was just like, okay, okay. And it made me feel better for a little bit, for a little bit. But that didn't stop the thoughts and the insecurities and the fears coming up. So, like I said, long story short, as much as possible, um, he started not being so kind anymore. He started making me feel like I wasn't good enough. And he would make these little jokes and these comments about like other girls or about his exes or, just things that I did not want to hear. And again, now I fully understand that it was all me, but it was because I was identifying with somebody that always got into toxic relationships. So if I didn't change the way that I was viewing myself, at some point it had to be that way, regardless of how amazing the relationship started off. But because I had done this time and time again, I saw what was going on. I realized, no, this is not who this guy is. This is not what he has shown me up to this point. And I know enough to understand that this is coming from me in some way. So, what did I do? I started to go crazy with affirmations. And just to make it super short, I literally got myself into a place where the more I affirmed, the worse my 3D experiences got. And I would get little things here and there, and then it would go back, and it was just an up and down thing all the time. And so we got ourselves into a place where, I should say, I got myself into a place where we were back to being really good, really close, communicating well, being respectful of each other. And I started thinking, well, okay, like this is the man that I want to be with. This is the man that I want to marry. So I decided, and again, didn't really know what I was doing so much, but I decided that we're going to get married. And I don't know when it's going to happen, but he is going to propose to me in a way that is super special, where he involves my kids. And that's exactly what happened. He involved them in the proposal. And this maybe can be for another video, another time, but it was super cute and special. So in any case, once we got engaged, I'm here thinking, okay, cool, everything's good. Like, this is amazing. Now I get to have my happily ever after. No, not really. There were still things coming up. And really, it all came back to me and the way that I was still seeing myself, the way that I was defining myself. And long story short, I got myself into this position where I was deciding on whether or not I was going to move out. So I had moved in with him. My children obviously lived with me, and we were living there for over a year. And it was to this place where I might move out and we're going to end the relationship. But I knew, number one, that this was not the way that things were meant to go. And number two, I knew that it was all me. So I had to ask myself, and I really want to point this out because I think it's important. I had to ask myself, okay, what if I don't end up being with this man and we have to move out and we break up? Like, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my kids? What does that mean for my life? And I had to be very, very honest. And while yes, I would be devastated, I would be extremely sad, and I would probably need a lot of time to move on, I would. I would. And I don't know if it was just me being a mom or what it was, but like I knew that regardless, I was going to be okay. And I had to live my life for myself and my children. Again, it doesn't mean I didn't want this relationship. I wanted it more than anything. But I could continue on with these affirmations of, he's so in love with me, he treats me like a princess. Like, I could do that and really get, iffy results every now and then. Or I could literally stop trying to run away from this issue and be real with myself and accept the fact that this is where we are right now. So, how am I going to move forward? And for me, it was acceptance. Like, I think for so long I was in denial. And when I'm using these words, I don't mean that you guys have to just accept everything that happens. What I'm saying is, I got myself into this place where I was fully aware of the issues with us, and I was just acting as if there were no issues. Nothing was going on. All the while, fully hyper aware of the fact that we have these issues going on. So you cannot continue to put your attention and focus on something as a problem and then tell yourself over and over again, oh, I love everything about my life. Everything is great. This is so good. Our relationship is awesome. If you're still viewing it as if it's not. It's not that you can't choose to have an amazing relationship, but you can't do it from a place of believing that you don't already have it. It's not going to work. So, in any case, that's what I did. I was like, I want this, but I will be okay if I don't. And I'm telling you guys, the moment that I accepted that, I accepted it's possible that I don't get what I want with this guy. That's when literally everything started changing, and he started being the guy that he was from the beginning. He started showing up in so many amazing ways. And I really fully understood in that experience that this has never been about him. This has never been anything about the relationship and who he is and what his backstory is and his past experiences. It's not about any of that. It's about me and the way that I'm viewing myself, the way that I'm defining who I am. And so I went really, really hard on like focusing on that and really building myself up into this identity that I really loved. And so that worked really, really well for quite some time. But I started to notice again that once we were married, like things started shifting and moving again. And, sometimes we were arguing, sometimes we weren't on the same page. And here's the thing here, guys. This is why I pointed out so much. Things are always shifting and moving and changing. So it's not going to be exactly the same experience all the time, every day, moment by moment. It's not. So really, what I used to do was if he would come up and see me in the morning and be like in a bad mood, then I would be in a bad mood. If he said something that like rubbed me the wrong way, then I would make it all about me and what the hell is wrong with me? What's my problem? And you can't do that. You can't do that. And so I started to notice that when I didn't make it mean anything, it went away. But when I made it mean something about me and myself, it not only stayed, but it got worse, started to feel worse. So I really got very clear on myself and who I wanted to be as a wife, as a mom, as a person. And that's what I put a lot of emphasis and focus on. And again, things started to be more consistent and great and easy and healthy. But when I started looking out there and looking at him to tell me who I could be, that's when things were very rocky. So I started recognizing these patterns, guys, and I realized that, yeah, I can't do this. I cannot base my happiness off of this man. I love him and I want him to be happy and I want us to have a happy relationship. But the moment I start looking to him to tell me what's going on, looking at him to define who I am, I'm not going to be experiencing the life that I want to experience. So I stopped doing it. Now, when I want to go back a little bit because when I manifested my engagement, like I said, I had a very particular ring that I really loved. And he actually asked me, like, can you please tell me the exact ring that you want and every little detail about it because I don't want to get you something that you don't love. And I was like, well, I want you to pick it. I want you to choose. And he was like, no, you're going to be wearing it every single day for the rest of your life. I think it's only fair that you choose. I'll be there with you, but you choose it. So I was like, okay. So I ended up getting the exact ring that I wanted. And in fact, he chose a different size than I was anticipating, but it's beautiful and I love it. So I just wanted to mention that because I did consciously choose to manifest that. Now, anyways, back to the relationship. My whole point in all of this, and for anyone that wants to manifest an SP, is that yes, I am in a place now where I have a very, very open, honest, loving, just honestly, like, this man is my best friend. I love him so much. I feel completely safe with him. I feel completely adored and appreciated and chosen and prioritized by him every single day. But it wasn't by chance. It wasn't just that's the way it was. I had to make that choice and that decision every single day, and I still do, to see myself in that way. This is what I'm saying here. So just because I manifested the relationship in and everything was great, that didn't mean that I could just fall back asleep and stop being aware of who I say I am. It doesn't work that way because, like I said, the 3D world is constantly, constantly moving, shifting, and changing to reflect who you say you are. So, really, you cannot be in a place where you fall back asleep. Now, it's not going to take effort to stay awake. This is where recognizing who you truly are beyond any human identity is really important, and it's the most effortless way that you can live the life that you want to live. So what a normal day looks for me or looks like for me is simply just waking up in the morning and appreciating the fact that I am the source of everything in my life. That's literally it. And then I go through my day and I enjoy it. And if things aren't always perfect from my human's point of view, I don't make it mean anything about me anymore. I don't use it to define myself. I don't label it in any way. I see it as what it is, which is a meaningless form, unless I give it meaning. And I really just move through life in that way. I flow. I do not attach myself to anything on the external world. And yes, I know people have asked me, like, if you're married and you have children, how can you say that you're not attached? But here's the thing, I love my family. I love my kids. I love my husband. And I'm so happy that I get to spend my days with them. But I'm not attached to them from the perspective of it's possible for me to lose them. It's possible for them to want to leave me. I understand that who I am, that's impossible. Yes, I could fall back into seeing myself as this tiny human being. And then I could give myself the experience where they leave me and they don't want to be with me. But why do that to myself? Because I know the truth behind all of this. So, really, just choosing to recognize that truth every single day is all that I do. So, to be honest, to make it very clear to you guys, it's a lot more about what I stopped doing than what I do, if that makes sense. So I stopped doing affirmations. I stopped trying to force myself to visualize things. I stopped looking outside of myself for a source of happiness, fulfillment, love, acceptance, security, abundance. I stopped looking outside of myself for anything. And I fully, fully recognize me, not Brittany, not this human character, but me at my core as I am is perfect, whole, complete, has it all right now in this moment. There's never anything to do to get something. It's already mine right now. So if a desire comes in, as it does, I maybe have a thought about it or a human emotion about it, and then I come back and recognize who I really am. That's all that I'm ever doing all day, every day. And that's all that I will do for the rest of my life. Now, yes, what naturally happens is sometimes I'll hear an inner conversation or a visualization will just come to me. But those are coming to me from my identity, not from me trying to make them happen. So I fully, fully recognize that as the source of everything in my life, I am love itself. I am security itself. And so even if I have a day where I'm feeling not my best or I'm not feeling super loved, it's not the truth. It's not a fact. I am love. I am love itself. And I'm not basing that off of what I currently in this moment right now have or don't have. Also, fully well understanding that from the human perspective, you can only see a tiny, tiny, tiny little piece of what is actually there. So if I were to judge with my five senses what I think I have or don't have, I would be doing that from a very limited perspective. So I don't choose to do that to myself. It's only going to give me an experience where I feel that I don't have what I want, and that isn't the ultimate truth. As source, as all that there is, you already have absolutely everything right now, right here in this moment. That is all that there is, and that is all that there will ever be. So if you guys are trying to manifest a specific person, if you are trying to just manifest a relationship, if you're trying to manifest a celebrity, if you're trying to manifest someone that you have never met and you don't know anything about them, but you're creating your own character as you go, it does not matter. The number one thing that you want to do is come from the truth first and foremost. I am the faceless, formless, invisible substance of power. That is who I am. I am the source of absolutely everything in my life. I give birth to everything in 3D form. It all comes from me. I, with my energy, animate this whole experience, and it's my personal experience. So from there, I'm choosing that I am in this relationship. I'm choosing that this person is in love with me, whatever it is from there, guys. But once you do that, you stop trying to make it happen. It already has happened. It already is so. So I'm not telling you you cannot continue to remind yourself. You can continue to visualize it if you want to, but do it from the perspective of knowing I already have it all. It is already right now mine in this moment because that's all that there is. I'm not looking for it out here. I'm not looking for validation of it with my five senses because if that's what I do, I don't know who I am. And I'm implying again that I am this limited human that can't see everything. That's it. That's all that there is. So really, if you want something to do, what I would say is walk around choosing to recognize who you are. Walk around in the awareness of love. Start noticing the presence of love in your life instead of the lack of it. Truthfully, guys, if you want to make it very, very simple, choose to only focus on the presence of the things that you want to experience. Whether or not you're seeing the lack of it in your 3D world doesn't matter. If you see the lack of something, in that moment, you can recognize that the presence of it is also here and now. It could be no other way. It could be nowhere else. It could be no other time. Okay? So bringing it back to yourself, reminding yourself of who you really are, and then moving through your day, doing whatever it is that feels good to you. Whatever it is, guys. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to visualize. You don't have to affirm. You don't have to script. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. The only thing you have to know is who you are. And if you want to ask me, how do I know? It's a choice. It's a choice. So I choose every single day to know who I am. And because I do that, because I recognize that, because I choose to be aware of that, that is how I experience my 3D. That is how I experience my life every single day. And regardless of changing forms, regardless of what shows up in one moment and the next moment, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with who I am. And if I want to make it about me, cool. But the only thing I'm going to do is make it mean that everything in my life is perfect and it's all happening right now for me in the exact way that I want it to. So yeah, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know I mentioned that I would talk about how I manifested my daughter, but I think I'll save that for another day if you guys are actually really interested. Really, I just chose that I was going to have a girl. I didn't know, I had all these fears about age and my health issues that I had going on at the time. And it all worked out perfectly. Again, I can share it in more detail if you want me to, so just let me know. But yeah, I'm gonna stop it here. I could talk forever. Honestly, every time I talk about my husband, it just makes me so happy. I just love him so much and I love our story. And yeah, thank you for allowing me the space to talk about this kind of thing. If you have any other questions about this specific topic, or you want to know something about anything else when it comes to a specific person, to be honest, I think all of the answers are here in this video, but you can always ask and I will be happy to answer you. So yeah, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your week. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for your support, for your kindness, for just being such amazing friends. I love you so much, and I will see you very soon.